If everyone can just mute themselves, that would be helpful. Let's see. So, perfect. Can everyone see my screen okay? All good? Perfect. So, how to avoid gaining £10 over Christmas without giving up the foods you love and ruining your time off. So, shocking stats. The average person, and this is in the Western world, so UK, US, gains over on average, I should say on average, sorry. I'm about to sneeze. Maybe. No. Just went away. You know, you're just on the edge. That was me there for a second. The average person, on average, gains between £5 and £10 between the end of November and the end of December and doesn't lose it. When you look at average weight gain over periods of time, it happens mostly in this 4-week window, not evenly across the year. This is very common. What tends to happen is we all have a spike over Christmas, little overindulgence, nights out and things like that, which we will actually may have this year. We all missed out on them last year. We were all locked in our living rooms. But ultimately, this is the 4-week period, 5-week period between the end of November and the 1st of January, sorry, where the vast majority of people gain weight. And this is how weight gain compounds over periods of years. This is how you slowly and seemingly don't seem to notice the weight gain. But over a period of time, you do tend to gain it, especially in this kind of 4-week block. It's not like you gain, you know, the average weight gain over a period of years. I'm not sure what the number is, but it's not like you gain, you know, £0.5 pound on average each month. It's more often than not all done in this walk at the end of the year and never lost again. So the reality, we've all been there. stepped in a scale in January filled with dread, myself included. And it really doesn't need to be the case. Now, I could easily just say, just cut out all the sweets, the alcohol, and forget dessert on Christmas Day. Both you and I know the Ferrero Rochers aren't going to eat themselves. So, and anyone, let's like bit of engagement in the chat here. A bit of competition, a bit of back and forward. What is your favourite Christmas chocolate? Let's hear it in the chat. Andy, any suggestions? Mine's is definitely a Ferrero Rocher. if you didn't guess by the slides here. But anyone get any favourites?
Toblerone.
A Toblerone for Alex. There you go. The purple one, Chris, I must admit, I'm up there. That's up there. Terry's chocolate orange for James. Orange matchmakers, Adam. They're a classic. They are a classic. Cadbury Little Robins, fairly new. Yep, not bad, John. Not bad. So the secrets to avoiding holiday weight gain. Let's start with Christmas nutrition. I suggest the 2-day rule over Christmas. Do not have 2 extremely bad days in a row. Now, this just means in a row. The goal here is to avoid eating like an asshole. That is really it, honestly. And for example, if you have breakfast, lunch and dinner and a few drinks in one day, then make the next one reasonable. Ultimately, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be obstacles over the next 4 or 5 weeks, especially as we get into the tail end of the year. We're going into a Christmas that you probably maybe haven't, you know, spent with family for a couple of years for a lot of people. So there is going to be even more of a temptation to go overboard. But ultimately, the 2-day rule, do not have 2 extremely poor days in a row, and you should be fine. Now, this ultimately comes into play right now, because there's going to start events coming up and work nights out, all that sort of stuff. So again, let's just try and stay focused and keep things reasonable. This is how I structure my days. I structure my days over Christmas the same way as I do when I'm traveling. So again, I tend to have a bit more routine now because I just kind of tend to stay in relative, you know, some form of framework for work. But when I was taking complete time off, when I was in my 9 to 5, I structured my days the same way then as I did when I was traveling. I will eat light in the morning, the same at lunch, and then have a nice meal, some sweets, etc. at night. And I probably do that most days. to be honest, when I'm off over Christmas. And I do this most days when I'm traveling as well. This creates that calorie buffer in the first part of the day and gives you some room for flexibility. Ultimately, we have to be realistic. Like, when are you most likely to cave into cravings, want to go out for eat, or be faced with temptation? In the evening, family's round, people are visiting, doing all this sorts of stuff. There's chocolates out, there's beer, there's wine, there's cakes. Like, let's be realistic here. Just plan for it. It's not to say that you need to cut all of this out. It's to just factor in that you do need to plan for it. And I do the same when I'm traveling. If I'm traveling for a holiday, if I'm traveling for work, I'm on plan. That's it. I don't accept anything else. But when it comes to traveling for a holiday, for example, I'll just give myself some flexibility in the first half of the day. So really fast, or, eat very light, maybe a light salad for lunch or something, and then give myself the calories in the evening. And more often than not, that creates enough of a buffer to stay on track. So here's a couple of examples that I would personally use. Again, these are kind of basic and simple, but that's why I like. So this may be an example of a day off over Christmas for me. Breakfast would be nothing. It would be some fasting. I would typically work out around 9, 10 a.m., especially kind of over that period of Christmas. And again, we'll be touching on the exercise portion as well. Post-workout, I would maybe have something like a whey protein smoothie. So again, I'm just getting in some protein, some lower calories here. I make it up with skimmed milk and ice. It makes a lovely smoothie. But I'm not taking in a huge amount of calories here. I am simply keeping things light and getting a protein source in after my workout. Lunch, maybe some grilled chicken and roast veg. Could be something very simple like that. Some salmon and roast veg, some prawns, a stir fry, something like anything like that. But I will avoid the carbs and fats. So as you can see from this portion of the day so far, I've probably had about 200 calories here, and probably about the same here, maybe 250, depending on the size of the portion of chicken. So I'm sitting about 450 calories for the day. Now, I'm going to have a Domino's pizza at some point over Christmas. You can absolutely guarantee it. And that's perfectly fine. But the Domino's pizza is going to take me up into this range in terms of calories. But for me, this is roughly maintenance. So just by making some smarter choices during the day, I can eat with relative flexibility in the evening and not worry too much about gaining loads of additional body fat. Second option, if you have, again, this could be, whey protein smoothie stroke, egg white omelette, something like that. A few boiled eggs, something like that, nice and basic. Or some eggs, peppers, mushrooms, onion, that sort of stuff. Just keeping it light. Whey protein smoothie, again, just simple, easy, quick post-workout, maybe a chicken salad for lunch. And then dinner, I'm going to have a handful of Ferrero Rochers, more than a handful, most likely. So again, I'll keep it relatively okay for the main meal. Some steak, some sweet potato fries, maybe make them up in the oven or something like that. And then gods and some chocolate in the evening, because I am an absolute chocolate fiend. It is my favorite thing in the face of the earth, nutrition-wise. Absolutely no questions asked. Maybe second only to a fillet steak. If you gave me the option of surviving in the two for the rest of my life, I would maybe choose the steak, but it would be very close. So again, I know myself. I know that I'm going to do things like this. I know that the box of quality streets that my gran bought me is not going to be left there until next year. It's going to get consumed. So I might as well build that into the plan and be realistic about it and actually be able to stay on track. So Christmas workouts, actually looking at the exercise portion. Most of us have more time over Christmas. Maybe not saying it's everyone, but for the vast majority, we tend to have a little more time over Christmas. So squeezing in a few workouts each week really shouldn't be a problem. Look at your week from a 7-day perspective, as we always recommend. We always say this. Let's just look at your week from a 7-day perspective. Zoom out a little and remain flexible. If you have certain things on, don't worry about it. If you have, to shut down some days, or you have to shut some days around, let's say move some days around or shift some days around. Jesus. If you have to shift some days around to suit, that's absolutely no problem at all. I'm not sure what day Christmas Day is this year. Is it Saturday? Anybody know? Saturday? So if you look at Christmas and it's a Saturday, perfect. Most of you probably have a Saturday off workouts anyway. So again, just being flexible when you have things on or when you've got stuff on is absolutely no problem. Zoom out, look at things from a 7-day and try and fit a few workouts in. And again, same as when I'm traveling. Morning time for me is the key. If you win the mornings, you'll win the days. Get up and avoid the temptation to lie in. Hit the 2-hour GSD morning routine. If you do not know what the 2-hour GSD morning routine is, get yourself onto the membership site, download the cheat sheet that walks you through it and implement. It is an absolute lifesaver, especially when it's cold and dark outside right now. It's just a morning routine I go through that really fires me up for the day and really helps me get going. Now, I highly recommend when you're off, trying to hit a workout in the earlier part of the day. Then just go and enjoy some time off with your family, whatever you have planned. But rather than going and doing all of those things first, leaving the workout until 5, 6, 7 p.m. and then going, oh, it's Christmas, I'm going to watch that TV. I'm going to snuggle up on the couch and chill out and take it easy. I'm going to relax. Get up, win the morning, win the day, and move forward. Simple as that. I find that creating that momentum for my day then actually means I make better decisions that day as well. Because we all know that training and nutrition go very much hand in hand. It's very difficult to do one and not the other. As in, if you're going to the gym, if you're at least staying accountable to the workout portion, you're more likely to adhere to the nutrition portion. It seems to be, and it's just the mentality of human beings. It's all in or all out. It's, oh, if I'm not working out, then I might as well just, blow everything off and do whatever I want. So again, win your mornings, get some workouts in and take action as much as you can. I maintain my training as normal over Christmas. Ultimately, the goal is set a minimum target for your week, lay out a plan that's realistic and keeps momentum with your training, and is one that's it's more important than hitting a perfect holiday period of workouts. So it's not absolutely fundamental to your success that you hit a perfect program over Christmas. What is fundamental to your success and is going to mean that you do not gain that additional weight or put on those 5-10 pounds over Christmas is remaining focused and keeping some form of momentum. We all know how hard it is to try and pick things back up after a holiday. It's difficult. You've lost it. You're out of routine a little bit. And it's almost that, I need to do it. I'm trying to force myself into this again. Now, of course, we should all be trying to do this in a manner that we actually enjoy. I say this until I'm blue in the face. But ultimately, keeping that momentum is very beneficial. So even if it's just deciding, listen, I'm going to get 2 or 3 workouts in this week. That's what I'm going to make realistic. That's what I'm going to hit in the month of December. Like, it could be anything. It doesn't matter when you're traveling. It's the same for me. So over Christmas, I'll look at my week, look what I have going on, and again, just make a plan. This is what I'm going to do. This is when I'm going to do it, and I'll hold myself to it. Nothing fancy. You don't, and if there's a couple of days that I've got maybe stuff on, it's more likely that I'll maybe go out with friends and go drinking, which I very, very rarely do. But if I'm going to do it, it's probably going to be that one day over there. I'm not going to the gym the day after that. Like, I'm realistic, but I will plan around that. I know that I'll maybe go out midday that day, so I'll go and get a workout in the morning and then go for it after, and that's fine. I've at least moved forward. I've at least hit some form of workout and stayed within the plan that I have laid out. It doesn't need to be a case of staying perfect on track over a Christmas period. Let's just do what we can to keep momentum moving forward. Make sense? Cool. Any questions so far from anyone? Workouts, nutrition, Christmas-wise? All good? Good stuff. The secrets to avoiding holiday weekend. So I've just put that title in there. So Christmas movement. So I've kind of broken down this into a few categories, but as always, activity is going to be one of the biggest drivers of fat loss and avoidance of weight gain. Now, it's tempted to chill out, relax, not do much over this period. That's absolutely fine. Like, that's what it's for. But set a minimum step target and stick to it. We should, for the most part, as I said, have more time. Spend it in some walks with your family, give yourself a structure and stick to it. And again, when it comes to relaxing or winding down, some of you may be finishing up early for work. There's probably a boatload of you, probably a load of you with a boatload of holidays left that you didn't take in the summer. Some people will be finishing the start of December this year. But ultimately, if you're faced with that time off, creating routine, creating structure is really, really key to staying on track. And it doesn't need to be rigid. It doesn't need to be militant, but at least giving yourself something to aim for is going to be a good start. So again, here's an example of potentially what I would do. The one on the left is more likely than what I would personally do. So on the left, this is generally how I structure my day. If I'm off or if I'm out and about or whatever. 8:30, I'll get a 3 to 4K step walkout. Just something that takes honestly 20 minutes. It's not a huge investment of time. 20 minutes, then 10 a.m. I'll probably hit a workout. And then afternoon and evening, again, I'll split it up throughout the day. I just make it realistic. I know what I've got time for. I know when I can fit it in. I know roughly when I can, what I'm aiming for time-wise then. And it's a case of need to hit this then, need to hit this then, need to hit this then. And that's not a huge ask. And it's something that is going to keep you on track, and it will make a massive, massive difference keeping your activity levels up, especially if you're someone who has a more active job. Maybe you're out doing site visits, or you're someone who maybe is on the go a little more during the day. If you're suffering from a big drop in activity over the Christmas period, that will have a big impact on overall weight gain. Again, just being less and more sedentary. So again, just have a conscious eye on the step count. And just give yourself a structure. Again, one that suits you. This is just some examples of what I would potentially do. That's not to say these are right or wrong. Find what works for you. Christmas moving over to right here. So 8:30 workout, 10K step, 5K steps afternoon, mid-morning, 5K steps afternoon. This is what I'm more likely to do if I know I have something on that night. So if I'm going out, if I'm getting an event, if I know I'm going to be tied up from 6 p.m. onwards because I'm getting ready to go somewhere or family dinner or whatever, this is what I'll do in the first part of the day. Again, I just front load my day. Just thinking that one step ahead is the key to success for me. Planning and preparation and just having something to aim at will 10x your chance of success. It's more when you just leave things up to chance and it's, oh, maybe I'll do it then. Maybe we'll do it then. Then before you know it, it's six o'clock. It's dark outside. It's absolutely pouring with rain, and you've got a cupboard full of big bottles of gin and tonic that you got for your Christmas, and God knows what else. Like any other time of the year, for me, the success in anything comes in creating structure. Give yourself something to work towards, a focus and a routine for each day. It will honestly, it really does. And I don't just say it 10x is the chance of success for the sake of it. They literally have done Harvard studies on planning and goal setting. And when it comes to planning and goal setting, if you do them both in conjunction, you 10x your chance of success. So giving yourself that goal and that plan each day, that would be your step target, and then the actual times that you're maybe working towards will 10x the chance that you actually do. And if you need help mapping this out and being held accountable, well, that's what we're here for. Let us know. And ultimately, this is, as you all know, this is a two-way conversation. This is never, you need to do this, you need to do that. You tell us what you want to achieve in the month of December. If you turn around and say, I want this to be my most dedicated, disciplined month, fantastic, let's do it. If you get to the 25th and you say, Andrew, Jordan, get it up these, I'll see you in the first. We'll be fine with that as well, but as long as you know the consequences. So ultimately, you decide what you want to achieve and we'll help you get there. I can only, myself and Jordan and David, we can only ever make suggestions that are in your best interests, of course. But really staying on track over this next month is not challenging if you have the right plan. It ultimately just comes down to you thinking ahead, being proactive, and being realistic with the structure that you have in place, or the time, the commitments, etc., that you do have in place. We're all going to enjoy ourselves. We're all going to have too much to drink. We're all going to have too much to eat. That's fine. But let's just try and avoid the classic weight gain. Closing thoughts. So Christmas is the time of year to be enjoyed. Again, if you want to go all out and do what you like, by all means, go for it. But it will make life tough in January. Starting £5 up from where you are now is challenging. With just a little bit of routine, you'll not only avoid the weight gain, but move forward. And humans need routine. Most of us, after a couple of weeks off, tend to be get me back into routine. So try and maintain some form of structure when it comes to your workouts and nutrition. I will relatively do this. I probably didn't mention this, but even with nutrition, when I'm taking maybe a step back or time off or something like that, I will still prep up my meals and stay relatively focused. It saves me time, saves me stress, saves me hassle, and makes life easy. So again, these skills are things that I recommend implementing all of the time. That's why we're here, to lose fat forever, not lose fat for a period of a few weeks and do it when it's convenient. The goal is to actually give you the skill sets to make sure that when you do get faced with times like this, that it's not a case of gaining 5-10 pounds like you maybe have done in the past. Hell, I've gained more than £5 over Christmas before, definitely. But now with just a little bit of proactivity, it's not the case. Any questions on staying on track over Christmas? All good?
Yeah, all good, mate. No, I just think as well, just like you said, just in the past, maybe you've just sat random days in between Christmas and New Year, just not moving, eating chocolate at breakfast. Like, it's more just avoiding things like that. Like, just if there's days in between Christmas, you've not got anything planned, like you may as well just like continue as like a normal day in terms of get your steps in, get a workout in if you can, and just doing this, that'll keep you kind of covered for any of the days that you are off plan. Because yeah, we're not going to be asking you to stick to your meal plan on Christmas Day or anything like that, but it's just like just be sensible about it, and there shouldn't be any too much of an issue.
Gail, how do I create structure when I'm at home with my 4-year-old and my husband is working? Normally get my steps in while the wee one is at nursery. Jordan, take it away. So, you're the expert here.
Yeah, for me, I sometimes just try and get out the walks with the kids if it's possible. Again, 4-year-olds probably different in terms of they're probably not in a pram or buggy anymore. Whereas I can just still fire Rosie and Evie into the pram or the buggy, so I can just push them along. If I was having to go a walk with Rosie just like on her feet, it'd probably take me about 2 hours to get 50 yards. So that's probably that would be harder. But if you can get them out to walk, just make it like a family thing. Like, let's go out a wee walk round about, and like even if you don't get very far, you get something in. That's probably the best thing I would advise in terms of just trying to get them involved with as much as you do.
One thing I didn't mention there, and I probably should have, was just find ways to be relatively active with your family and things like that.
Yeah,
like there's loads of stuff on. Like, even if it's just walk around the parks or whatever, winter wonderlands, all that sort of stuff. Like, there's loads of things you can do just to change things up and be a little active. Yeah, just get creative and find some things to do, some activities that get you outside. Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions specifically on this before we dive into the Q&A?
I've got a quick one.
Absolutely, Mark.
It was more of a what's a smart choices? Like, is it sort of Christmas cake, mince pies, or should we just not bother and just go for it?
Mark, just go for it. Mark, just go for it. No. just enjoy yourself, mate. Honestly. Well, ultimately, see, when it comes to things like the Christmas dinner, for example, again, do what you feel is going to serve you right on the day. But all of these foods are very calorie dense. Stressing out about the difference between Christmas pudding, chocolate, etc. They're very, very similar in terms of calorie quantities and things like that. Again, there are some worse than others. For example, cheesecake is probably up there with the most calorie dense foods on the planet. Again, it just depends what you're really looking for. But ultimately, 1 or 2 bad days is not going to set you off track. Again, it just comes down to making some relatively educated choices, maybe the first half of the day, and then either side of it, just don't have a terrible day. Christmas Eve, maybe keep things a little lighter, prepare for the day. Okay, Christmas Day, Boxing Day are more likely to be heavier calorie dense days. So just make sure you're creating some room in the days round about that, and the lead up to it, and maybe post those days as well. I personally wouldn't overthink something like that. When I go for a Christmas dinner meal, I just have what I want to have, and that's it. And then I move on. I do that on a weekly basis regardless. I'll speak about it all the time. I go Friday night, I will typically go out for a meal. I have what I want, and then I move on. I scratch the itch. It's generally some food and some form of dessert, and that's it. I'm good to go. I just crack on the next day. And just picking up and getting back into the routine. It's that consistency that's going to pay dividends long term.
It's kind of like you did it, what was it, a few months ago, Andrew, did the 10,000 calorie challenge in a day. And you gained maybe a couple of kilos, but then within couple of days of just getting back into it, it was back off. Like, so, it was a one-off day.
When was that? That must have been that was at the start of the year, I think. Because it was right at the peak of when I was building muscle. And I'd done a 10,000 calorie challenge in a day. Now, you will not eat 10,000 calories in Christmas Day, believe me. I tried my hardest and it was extremely challenging. Like, it was very, very difficult. Now, I was eating and consuming a considerable amount of calories at the time and maintaining my weight. So I think my maintenance calories were over 4,000 per day at that time. But what I'd done was 2 days before, I cut them in half. So I created a buffer of 2,000 calories the 2 days before and 2,000 calories the 2 days after. So I was 2,000, 2,000, 10,000, 2,000, 2,000. Now, if you actually look at those numbers in a 5-day average, if my maths aren't correct, they're almost identical. If they aren't exactly the same, quick maths, they're very, very close. So even though I had a really, really high calorie day, it had absolutely no impact on my weight. I was almost the same weight 2 days later. I woke up heavier the next day by like 1.5 kilos, maybe 2. It was quite a bit, but it was just food volume. I just eaten so much. And the day after that, I was almost back down to normal weight. It was around Easter time because I had 2 Easter eggs as part of it. That was part of my calories. And a large Domino's pizza for lunch and 4 rolls and sausage for breakfast. It was a heavy going day. But even things like that, Mark, things like that, it didn't throw me off for any length of time.
So as long as you're back at it, you're fine.
Yeah, what's up? Any other question? Oh, sorry.
Just on that one, Andrew, you kind of answered it there, but can you kind of bank your calories then in the run up to
100%. 100%. Right. Yeah, absolutely. I always suggest this for any event and anything like that. That you have to remember, days don't happen in a vacuum. Days don't. If you, for example, eat 7,000. If you eat 7,000 calories, let me make this a visual. I'll maybe get my iPad out here. I haven't had this out for a while. Let's see. Let's see if I can share my screen here. If my iPad plays the game. No, not going to play the game. we see this?
Yep.
All good? Perfect. So let's say you've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now, if you know that Saturday and Sunday, I think these two are Boxing Day and Christmas Day, correct?
Yeah.
I believe they are this year. Let's say you're going to have an enjoyable day. You're going to go mental. You're going to have some fun on Christmas Day. You're going to have 4,000 calories, and you're going to have a little less on Boxing Day, 3,500. Now, let's say your average calorie intake is maybe 2,000. That gives you about 14,000 for the week. So I've had 7.5 here, which is quite a substantial amount. But I've got now 5 days here. So my total for the week is 14,000. This is 7.5. So that's actually 6.5, isn't it?
No, 7.5.
6,500. Right?
6.5 left.
Yeah, 6.5 left. Now, if I was to try and break that up into 5 days, that's about 1,250 per day. But let's say I rounded that up to 1,500 and done 1,500 each day, which is manageable considering my normal's 2,000 calories. Okay, it's a relatively large drop. It's 25%, but it's not the end of the world. Like, I can, stomach this for 5 days. Well, over this 7-day period, I've consumed 15,000 calories. Now, that's only 1,000 above my weight loss goal. So if I'm losing weight on the 14,000 up here, and if I'm making progress and getting leaner, 15,000, I should be probably at least maintaining my weight. Sometimes you may even drop still. So just by being a little, because again, you have to look at things from a 7-day perspective. It's more likely that if you are in 2,000 calories and you're losing, your weight's probably going to dip a little before then, and you may see a little spike here. But you're not going to be too far off where you were at the start of the week. You're probably likely to be further forward on a week that's maybe defined as one of the worst in terms of health and fitness. So again, just being smart and thinking ahead is the way to go. And absolutely, you can bank calories.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, good to know, thanks.
Cool. Any other questions on that specifically before we get into the Q&A? All good? Perfect. Let's do the Q&A, Jordan, if there are any tonight.
So 3 questions tonight. So James Wilson's asked, is too much coffee an issue? But as long as you do kind of stop it towards the end of the day?
Depends. How much is too coffee? How much is too much coffee? James, how much is too much? How much are we talking here?
Well, I can go through 7 or 8 cups of coffee by 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's impressive. That is a substantial amount. If you're sleeping okay,
yeah,
and you're not adding a lot of calories to it, it's not the end of the world.
It's just plain black. It's plain black coffee at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's plain black. Like, ultimately, there's not many studies linking, or there isn't any to my knowledge, linking increased caffeine content with huge problems. Now, it depends. Your body very much gets used to certain amounts of caffeine and things like that, and you build up a tolerance to it over time. I would have to look at the recommendations, but if I believe there's anywhere from 50 to 150 milligrams of caffeine in a cup of coffee per day, in a cup of coffee, sorry, and I believe you can safely consume about 1,000 milligrams per day. So that would be well within the range. So again, I would have to confirm those numbers, but if it was me, I would ask you to bring it down to maybe 4 or 5. Personally.
That before lunch.
That's before lunch. But as long as you're cutting them out at a sensible time, 8 to 9 hours before bed if you can, and it's not impacting sleep, you're good to go. And in terms of, like, for example, in terms of from a weight gain perspective, it's going to cause absolutely no problems. There's literally nothing in black coffee. It's absolutely minuscule. It's just not even on the radar.
Yeah.
And if that really does become an issue, try swapping some out for like half decaf or half decaf, half normal, and switch a couple out that way. And that's at least a start there.
No worries, champion. Thank you.
Cool.
Cool.
Because I love the taste of coffee. I will tend to have decaf later in the day if I really do fancy a drink of coffee, because I really do like the taste. And it's maybe if I'm having something about 5 or 6, I've got some like decaf pods or whatever they're called, and I just crack on with those.
Yeah. Good. Ramon has a question. So he's injured his shoulder recently, and since then he's been favouring machines over free weights, and just wanted to know, is there any difference in terms of building muscle using machines and free weights?
No.
No.
There are two things that can happen to a muscle. It can get bigger or smaller, period. That's it. The way in which you apply the load does not matter if the program is thought out correctly. So the caveat here is that if you have a poorly designed program that, for example, it uses all machines and doesn't focus on maybe compounds or functionality, you probably build just as much muscle, but you wouldn't be as functional. So again, it depends what you want. If we're actually looking at it specifically from muscle building perspective, there is no difference. A bicep curl with a dumbbell done correctly versus a machine curl done correctly will achieve the same outcome if the load and the stress and the volume is the same. So what drives growth in a muscle is volume. Now, volume is simply weight times sets times reps. So if I'm using 10 kilos and I do it for 3 sets of 10, that's 100 kilos per set. That's 300 kilos I've lifted. If I done the exact same on a machine and it was the same tension and the same, I get the same result. But ultimately then it comes down to having a smartly designed program. So in Ramon's case, he's struggling to actually, training and things like that now. So because he's using machines, he can be more stable, he can be more targeted. So in this case, it makes more sense to actually plan in more machines. Whereas in some cases that may not make sense, and it depends on the goal as well. So if you compare the two, one is not better than the other. It's always, well, what's the question we're asking here? It's maybe the wrong question.
With machines,
they will both build muscle.
Yeah, with machines, I suppose it's more focused and more sort of isolated exercises in comparison. If you're getting a barbell and doing a compound exercise, you're going to get more bang for your buck in terms of the muscles that are building compared to.
It depends again. Then, like for example, if you're a bodybuilder, right? Let's say, and you've got 4 hours to train a day, you can be hyper targeted with machines because you can do it, but you can train for 2 hours in the morning, train for 2 hours in the evening because you're taking a boatload of steroids and recover. And that's probably going to be more beneficial because you're fine tuning all these different elements and aspects. Like you want to, but you need a little more definition here. Or like that's not relevant to normal human beings, myself included. Having a functional training program that allows you to move well, feel good, be athletic, lean, that to me is what we're working towards. You're not just pure muscle building. So I think there's merit for both, 100%. They both have their place and they both have benefits. It's not one's better than the other by any means.
Yep, no worries. Sounds good. And Alex has come on saying, just with Black Friday deals everywhere, any aids or supplements we should consider buying, like any good deals or anything on just now, things like vitamins, foam rollers, that sort of stuff?
Always depends. There is never a right answer to this question. It depends on you, your needs, your budget, your tolerance to risk, like all of these different things. We have a base level of supplements that we recommend. Omega-3, vitamin D, fish oils, multivitamin to cover the bases, creatine, a whey protein. If you have those, perfect. If you don't, get them right now, because you really can't go wrong with those. The key part here is buy quality. Do not pay for cheap supplements. You would be as well throwing your money in the toilet. Literally. If you're back, like for example, you get things like the Tesco multivitamin. Honestly, it might be 50 pence, but it's 50 pence that you'd get more out of just, I don't know, skimming it across the water or something like that. Like you would get more out of doing it that way. So again, when it comes to supplementation, go to reputable companies that have a brand name built around supplementation. They should have test certificates. They should have, now none of it's regulated. Nothing in the supplement industry is regulated. But because it's not deemed as food just yet. So they can make a lot of claims. But a lot of the higher level, more official companies will do their own testing and put the results out there because they back their products. So again, just going with a trusted brand name is key. Your MyProteins, Optimum Nutritions, all of these different brands and things, good to go. So that's where I would spend my time. When it comes to equipment, the only gym equipment that I have, well, in terms of accessories we're talking here, I have wrist straps for lifting and rowing. They make a huge difference. They're like £5. If you get them cheaper, get them. I get like 3 pairs because you will lose one, you will snap one maybe eventually. But outside of that, I don't really have much. I don't use straps or knee wraps as much. I did previously use. I don't really use any of that stuff anymore. I don't have a good reason for why. It's just not something I train with. I have a foam roller that I use, not enough. But outside of that, not too much. And supplements wise, yeah. Again, I don't know if anyone has seen. I could show you, but maybe I will. I'll show you. I have bought a load of supplements. Now, I have only done this to test them out. So a friend of mine, or well, a mentor of mine, was coached by someone who is very well thought of in the supplement industry, in the bodybuilding community. So he had a lot of supplements. Now, I have picked up a lot as well. I don't know if you can see that. There is literally dozens of supplements in there. Now, I am trying this as an experiment. I spent about £250 on supplements last month. Now, I am only doing this and I'm willing to lose the money on it to try it out and see if it does genuinely make a difference. I'm going to try it for 12 months and see where it takes me. So I will feed back once I have done it for 12 months, because that to me is the amount of time that I really need to test something in order for me to turn around and say it's effective. I feel good right now. I have lots of energy. I'm strongest I've ever been. But I don't think it's necessarily down to taking a boatload of supplements. I think it's just about being consistent. So they will give you the percentages, but there's dozens and dozens of routes you can go and levels you can take. If you want the list of what I have, by all means, let me know and I can send it across, but it is very extensive and very unnecessary for the most part. I'll be honest. But again, I'm willing to test things out because if I'm not out there testing and trying things, who's going to? And how can I ever recommend it to anyone? Cool. Questions. Chris, if I heard of you having too much coffee, I love it, and it's not having much less of effect, your adrenal gland can be tired, stroke short. Give it rest and it'll work better. So there is actually no evidence to suggest that adrenal fatigue is a thing. But what does happen is your body gets very adapted to caffeine. So the more you consume of it, the less the effect. If you were to take 3 days, 4 days off caffeine, and then consume it again, you would probably notice a big difference. So that is 100% accurate if you take a couple of days off. Blah, blah, blah. What supplement? Emma, what supplement brand do you recommend? I love strong coffee, Mark. Yep, me too. What supplement brands do you recommend? My Protein, Optimum Nutrition, Dymatize. There's loads of different ones as well. There's loads of options you can take. First Form, A-List Nutrition is a great website. Core Nutritionals. Anything stocked in A-List Nutrition tends to be pretty good. Bodybuilding.com, just go on there and go to the top supplement brands. I know it's bodybuilding.com, but they essentially do stock good supplements, and just go to the most recognized brands, the most popular ones with the best reviews. That's where I would start. Well, when banking calories, are you limited to a week only, or could you do it over a 2-week period, for example? You must be building up to a big day out. that's all I'd be saying. I would probably just do it. I mean, you could do it the week before. I would rather do it the week before than the week after if I was really going to do it. I wouldn't do it 2 weeks in the run-up. Don't really have a good reason as to why, but essentially I do, because essentially what you're then doing is you're reducing your calories, you're potentially slowing your metabolism, and then getting a large spike where you could gain more weight. Now you will gain weight anyway, but if you do a week either side, you're less likely to see your metabolism affected by dropping those calories extensively. You then get the boost from the additional calories that you're taking in, and then you can taper them down again. So I would probably say that's a more effective strategy than building or tapering them down for 2 weeks, for example. Makes sense. Perfect. Good. Any other questions, Jordan?
No, that was it. That was the end of the Q&A.
A question for you, Andrew, if you don't mind.
No way. Bedtime. I'm joking.
It's gone back to supplements a little bit. I'm suffering a little bit just now with a sore knee that's kind of becoming a bit of a sore leg.
Yep.
Is there any supplements that are kind of worth taking, like say collagen protein, or is there anything like that to kind of try and help things along a bit? Or...
But the best supplement for a sore knee would be a physiotherapist.
I've been doing that as well. Yeah.
I would. So there's a couple. I do take collagen protein, in fairness. One of the ones I'm testing out, funnily enough. In terms of joints and things like that, glucosamine and chondroitin is one that I haven't tried it. I would have to, I'd have to test that out. I wouldn't say when it comes to an injury, there's not much you will be able to take that's going to help you out. It's more about rehabbing things effectively, going to a sports therapist, going through an injury rehabilitation program, and being careful with your training. You can train around an injury. Don't let anyone kid you on. You can, without a doubt. When it's a knee, you can train upper body, for example. But just being proactive in terms of, for example, prevention is the best form of cure. So figure out why the knee injury happened. Get to the root cause first, because it could be something that was off, a misalignment in your hip or your back. I don't know what the root cause was, and you don't need to tell us. But if it was if it was a clash or something, fair enough. Not much you can do for that. But if it was down to maybe a misalignment in the hip or something that came over time, that can be fixed with stretching, yoga, foam rolling, and then doing some specific exercises that are going to help that. So with things like injuries and staying healthy and staying and avoiding injury, it very much comes down to being proactive in your approach. So staying flexible, not pushing too hard in terms of training and really overdoing it, etc. And building stretching and stuff into your routine is always a positive. And go and see a sports therapist or physio straight away when you get injured. It's the first thing I tell everyone to do. Go and see someone. Just
I'm getting it looked at. It's just I'm not the most patient of people.
Yeah. I know the feeling, Mark. I know yeah. It's just about building back up. That's all you can do. But root cause, try and get to the root cause, and then you can at least start to problem solve.
Okay. Thank you.
Make sense?
Yep.
Cool. Anyone got any other questions for this evening? All good? All happy? We're nearly in December, folks. We're nearly at the end of the year. Crazy. Where does the time go? But hopefully you all enjoyed the call tonight. If there's anything we can do to help you out, if there's anything you need from me, please let me know. We have announced the Black Friday promo for anyone who is interested. So we did send a few messages out this week. It does shut on Sunday evening, so it is a 1 week or a few days sort of thing. We're giving away free coaching, £200 worth of supplements, and a month's worth of lunches to one lucky person. So it's one big prize, just someone. So if you fancy getting some discounts off your training and put into a prize draw as well, by all means, let us know. But hopefully you all enjoyed the call tonight. If there's anything we can do to help you out, please let me know. Remember to check in today as always, and enjoy the rest of your weeks, folks. See you later on.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Good night.
Thank you.
Guys.
Bye-bye.